Hello everyone, welcome to the last video of Knitmas, Knit Years, whatever. I thought it would be fun to vlog the last final days as I do all of my end of year stuff and try to finish my whips before the end of the year. We'll see what happens. I'm in the car right now because I'm about to head to the yarn store. I have been grinding to try to finish the last couple of whips that I think I can finish before the new year. And I got very far on my jaunty shawl, which was really the one I was focusing on. I would love to get that one done and just not have to carry it into the new year. But then I ran out of yarn, which is really my fault. I didn't follow the pattern closely enough, and I just kind of fudged it and didn't leave enough yarn for the second half of the shawl. So I'm gonna go to my local yarn shop and see if they have the yarn. I'm very hopeful. I did originally get the yarn from them, but that was a while ago, so we'll see what they have in stock. So that's why I'm in the car, and these next couple of days I'm just gonna be knitting and filming content. I took a few days off and just rotted on the couch, and it was amazing. And now I gotta get to it and start actually filming content for the end of the year. Well, I struck out at the yarn store. They did not have this color. They had several other greens, and I thought about grabbing one and just finishing off this side with a different green. And I just couldn't do that. Like, that would ruin this scarf for me, and I've spent so long working on this. Anyway, so here's where I'm at. I think I got to about here when I realized I was running out of yarn. And so then I started rapidly decreasing to see if I could at least finish out the tip with the yarn that I had left so that it would, somewhat look like the other side. But you can see in just me holding them up that this one is obviously thicker, and it just doesn't look right. So what I'm gonna do is rip this back to the point where I started veering off the pattern so that I'm ready to finish this when my yarn comes in. So I will have to wait on this. It will not be done by the end of the year, but it's okay. I actually don't care too much about which year I finish it in. I just want to wrap this project up. So I still feel very good that I'm so close to getting this off the needles. But I have spent the past 2 days working on this because I picked it up when I was just into the decreases. So I was here, and I've knit all of this, which is a lot of knitting. This was an entire day's worth of just knitting, basically, plus a couple extra days of knitting on and off different projects. Sorry, I just noticed my cat is sleeping in here. She's so cute. So I have probably about an hour's worth of knitting to finish this off. So what I'll do is get this back on the needles, rip back to where I need to continue, and just wait for the yarn to come in. I have been working on my other December projects. I finished the first of my Christmas socks, and at first I was pretty disappointed that I didn't get this done before Christmas because I was like, oh, I don't want to work on Christmas socks after the holiday. But I feel like this is subtle enough that I don't really mind. I'm not sure that I'll wear them before the, end of the winter, but I don't mind working on them. And I'm knitting these for the Fall Off Legal cowl, which ends the end of January. So I don't mind that I'm still working on these. If I could get them done before 2026, I would be happy with that, but I also don't mind carrying them into the new year. And I've just barely started the cuff of the second sock. So I could theoretically get this sock done by the end of tomorrow if I just focused on this. My socks don't take me that long to knit, so I'm pretty confident that I could do that. But I think I'd rather focus on my gift socks. These are socks I'm knitting for my boyfriend. They are 2x2 rib. the same pattern with the reverse fleagle heel. And I have been very focused on these because they were a Christmas gift and I'm late. And so I'm really trying to get them done as quickly as I can. And maybe this will be my FO by the new year. We'll see, because they are hella big and they're rib, but I'm on the heel. I'm on the gusset decreases of the second sock. Last night I was probably about here and I got that far into the leg and then finished the first part of the heel, and now I'm working on the gusset decreases. So even though like there is so much knitting left, I think this is what I should focus on like tonight and tomorrow to try to get them done, because this is definitely my top priority. Like the socks for me, now that it's past Christmas, I'm like, whatever, I'll get them done. But gift socks, I feel kind of bad that I didn't have them done by Christmas. Not that it really matters, but I would just like to finish these. I also got some exciting mail the past couple of days, so I have 2 packages that I want to show you. And first is my Wool & Co order. I have plans, as you know, I've talked to you about my fall and winter plans, and I have a couple of sweaters that I am planning on casting on. However, all of my current plans are either color work or like heavily textured sweaters, and I really want a plain basic stockinette sweater to wear to the office. And I've been thinking about this exact yarn and pattern combo for a while now. I don't know why it never ended up in my plans. I think I felt like it was a little bit too simple to talk about and make interesting, but whatever, it's what I want to be knitting right now. And I want this to be my New Year's Day cast on. So let me show you the yarn. This is one of my favorite colors by Knitting for Olive. So this is the Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino and their soft silk mohair. And I'm holding these together and I want to knit the Lakes V-neck by Ozetta. I think the V-neck or possibly just the crew neck pullover, but I'm pretty sure I want it to be the V-neck. I can't fully decide, but I just love this color and I've been dreaming about this sweater for over a year, and I think I just never really wanted to knit it. Like I wanted the sweater, but I didn't want to go through the process of knitting it. And I finally come around to the idea of knitting just a basic sweater. And I think it's because I started my new job this year and it's fairly demanding, and I would just like another stockinette project on the needles. So that's what I am starting for the new year. The other thing I received is from Hello Yarn, and she had an update maybe about a week ago that I just happened to kind of catch the tail end of, and I really liked this colorway. This is some BFL and it's in the colorway Bonbons, and honestly, when I first pulled it out, I was a little bit disappointed because it's just not nearly as like bright as I felt like it was online. There's a lot more white, and these colors here are much more pastel than I thought they were going to be. But I do think this will pair well with a couple other braids that I have in my stash, so I'm not like too disappointed. So right now I'm gonna film another video. I'm gonna film the Q&A that you'll see before this video. And I'm really trying to figure out which project to work on because I really want to focus on these, as I've established. But because I'm working on the decreases, I don't know if it's going to be the best project to knit while I'm talking. I'm not great at like thinking about my knitting while I'm talking. I can do it, I'm just not very good at it. So I'm worried this will kind of slow me down while I'm trying to record that other video. It would be better for my brain if I worked on my Christmas socks because those are just stockinette in the round. So I need to figure that out and film that video. It's the next day. Filming went well. It took me way too long. I just yap and yap and yap, and then I have to really trim everything down, and it still ended up being like too long of a video. So if you watched that, thank you for indulging me. I did end up working on these socks, and I feel like it went okay. There were a couple of times where like I missed a decrease, but I just went back and fixed it and it was fine. And then after I filmed, I did a little bit of knitting while I edited that video. I'm not usually able to knit too much while editing because I yap so much that I have to cut stuff. And so I'm usually like on the keyboard most of the time, but occasionally I can pull out my knitting, and that's what I did. And then I worked on it this morning for a good chunk of time. So here is where I'm at. So I finished the decreases and I'm working on the foot. And I feel like from this view, it looks like I'm close to being done. However, if I compare it to the other sock, I mean, I guess I'm close-ish, but I definitely have several inches to go before I can start the toe. But I'm feeling really good about my progress. Like, I think I'll have no problem finishing this today, which is great because it's the last day of the year. And so I have to finish it or it's not getting done this year. But no, I don't think I'll have a problem finishing it. I really locked in this morning and got quite a bit done. I also ripped back my jaunty shawl and I re-knit it until I ran out of yarn. So this is following the pattern. I could probably get like a couple more rows out of this. So I might just finish that up right now and then I'll just have to wait for my yarn store to get more yarn. So I'm so close on this, but like I said yesterday, I don't really care too much about finishing this like on the day. It just feels a little bit arbitrary to me. So yes, I will have to include this in next year's finished objects. The only difference it really makes to me is just not being able to include like this amount of knitting in this year. But I carried over from last year into this year. So it's not, like I feel like it all really evens out and it's not that big of a deal. The most important thing is that it's almost done and that means I get to cast on something new. But not yet, not yet. I will be finishing these socks first, but I did knit a swatch. This is with the yarn I showed you yesterday, and I think I like it. I think this is a good gauge. This is just holding a single strand of the worsted weight with the mohair together. And the mohair definitely softens up the heavy merino. I've knit with the heavy merino one other time. I knit my Oon sweater out of it, and it can be a little bit scratchy. It's definitely not as soft as the Just Sarah merino, the fingering weight one. It is, yeah, it's got like a little bit of a tooth to it, which I don't really mind. Like I don't find it scratchy when I'm wearing it, but it's kind of a weird texture. Like it is a little stiff. And I'll talk about this, when I do my 2025 wrapped video, because I knit my Oon this year. So I'll chat more about like what I mean by that with that sweater. I just poured myself a second cup of coffee, which I don't typically do, but I'm really feeling like I need it right now to stay up until midnight. Little did I know that second cup of coffee was foreshadowing because I have been on the verge of a cold. And last night I really tanked. We stayed home. It was probably our chillest New Year's Eve ever. We did a puzzle up until midnight and then we went to sleep. But it was nice that it was so chill because that gave me plenty of time to finish the socks. And I got them done. So I was able to just really take my time with them and finish them up, my last FO for 2025. So I've spent today doing a lot of prep work for the Everything I Knit in 2025 video, as well as just all of my like year-end stats. I have filled out my spreadsheet for the most part. I just need to calculate yardage for some of my projects, but I have a tracking spreadsheet that I created a few years ago now, and if you input all of the information about each project, it will automatically calculate like certain stats. And I do link that publicly if you want to use it, modify it, do whatever you want with it. I have like loose plans to maybe update it for next year, just because like what I want to track has changed a little bit. And if I do that, I might end up charging a small amount for it. It would only be like a few dollars, but that would at least like incentivize it as a project for me to work on this year. If I don't end up doing that, it'll just remain free. But I just wanted to mention that in case you want to snag it while it's out there now. So that's what I use, and I finished putting all of my projects in. And I've also gathered up all of the projects that I finished this year. It's a pretty decent pile. I feel pretty good about where I'm at this year. And yeah, I'm excited to dive into that in my next video. I have also been working on my Christmas socks. I probably shouldn't call them that anymore, but yeah, my season's greetings socks. And so I have like one more color repeat to go, and then I'll start the heel. So this is what I've gotten done just today, and I've probably only knit for maybe like an hour and a half. So like I said, socks for myself are pretty fast. So I don't think I'll have any problem finishing these up. But I also wanted to show you the other whips that I'm bringing into 2026. So first is my port cardigan with my hand spun. I am working on the body. So I've made pretty decent progress, but I am just loving this project still. I love working with my hand spun. I think the colors turned out really, really fun. And yeah, I'm just excited to see what the sleeves look like, because I did spin a skein with shorter repeats for the sleeves, and so I'm really hopeful that that's going to turn out well. I also am still working on my tessellated vest, and I kind of set it down because I'm working on the front, so I'm knitting back and forth now. So here's the body. It looks very cropped, but I think it's going to be okay. I have a short torso. I'm just following the pattern. I just didn't feel like lengthening it. I originally thought I might add like an inch or two, but I am a little bit worried about yardage, so I just decided instead of cutting it close, I'll just stick to the pattern. I really love the way this is turning out, but I am not a fan of knitting back and forth with 3-color mosaic knitting. Not that you use 3 colors in the same row, you just use 1 color each row, but just the yarn management with this project is not fun. So I did set this down a while ago, and I haven't wanted to pick it back up, but I think it's really time now because I would just love to finish this. I don't want it on my mind anymore as a whip, and I would like to wear it. I am finding out that I really like vests, so I really want to wear this. I am still working on my jaunty shawl. As you know, that's going to be very quick to finish up once I get the yarn. And I'm still working on my long-term whip, my pitch cardigan. Here's the latest front that I finished. I still have another front and 2 sleeves to go. The only thing is I wish I was further along on my tessellated vest by this point so that I could finish it up quicker than what it's actually going to take me. Maybe if I was done with the front and I was just working on the back, I would feel better about it. Once I get through all of the mosaic knitting, I will push myself to finish the ribbing pretty quickly because it's just been a very long project. I started spinning the yarn in February of this year, and I haven't been knitting it for that long, but this project has been on my mind since definitely the beginning of this year, so it kind of feels like it's been a year-long project, and I just would like to finish it. So that'll be my push for this month, but I do really want to finish these. So I think I'll just keep working on these today and tonight, maybe switch over to my tessellated and figure out where I'm at. I'm working on the decreases for both the armholes and the neckline, so it's just one of those projects where I need to pull the pattern up, read through it, figure out where I'm at, and keep working on it. Hi, it's me again. I've hit the point in my sock where I'm ready to put in the heel. So I've been working on this for, it's probably been about another hour and a half, I would say, hour 45 maybe of working on this. And now I'm gonna set this down and I'm gonna make it a goal to pick back up my tessellated vest tonight and work on that, since that is like my least known whip at this point. Before I do that, I have a couple of things I need to do still to prep for my What I Knit in 2025 video. If you've filmed these videos before, you know there's a lot that goes into preparing to film them. And I think tomorrow is going to be my film day. I think it needs to be my film day. I've been putting it off a little bit. But yeah, I just have a couple things I need to do. One is I need to weigh each item and then do the math to figure out how many yards each one is, since that is a stat that I like to track. And some of my projects, it works out evenly so that I use up X amount of skeins and then it's easy to figure out how many yards, but most of them I don't know. So I just have to weigh them and then do the math with whatever yarn weight I used. I think I figured out the cost for everything. That's something that I like to track throughout the year. So I pretty much just had to go back for this quarter, like Q4, and look at my expenses and figure out what I spent on everything. But what I've done is I created a slideshow. It's not like a good slideshow, but it's just each project with the same stat listed out, just so that when I'm filming, I have all of that information in front of me. So here's an example, and I have just done this for every project, and I just put them in chronological order, and that helps me remember exactly what I want to say. But you can see on most of them, this stat has not been filled out. So that is what I'm gonna do right now. And I'm also going to just do whatever little things I need to do to prep for filming tomorrow so that it is easy to just get started. I find filming to be the hardest part of making every video. So I like to just make it as easy as I can on myself. Make sure my camera is charged, make sure my memory card is cleared, set up my folder that I store everything in, set up my video project. I have like templates that I use just to make things a little quicker. So I'm gonna get all of that ready to go and film tomorrow. I think this is like my most involved video every year. And I kind of hype it up in my mind, and then every time I film these, I'm like, it's not that bad. It's like, it's stuff I've already talked about before. So I know what I want to say, and I don't even have that many things to show. Like, I've watched so many Everything I Knit videos where people are like, yeah, I finished 78 items this year. And I'm like, wait, how many do I have? I have like 20, which is still a lot to me, but you know, it's not this giant undertaking that it feels like in this moment. I think the hardest part about it is just gathering everything and making sure that like every item is washed and there aren't like terrible fold lines on them. I am going to weigh everything right now, get that done, and then eat dinner. So this project is going to be like a little bit trickier to figure out exactly how many yards I used. So I will just make some assumptions and do my best estimation here. The pattern calls for 2 yarns held together, but that should make a worsted weight that is 9 wraps per inch. So I can't really look at the pattern's yarn to figure this out, but I'll just find a worsted weight yarn out there that is 9 wraps per inch. So I will use Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino, which is listed as 9 wraps per inch. First, what I'll do is divide the number of yards in a skein by how many grams is in that skein. So in this case, it's going to be 137 divided by 50. And then I'll multiply this by the weight of my item, which was 286. So that is like approximately how many yards should be in this item.
Defer to one of my favorite writers, and yeah, usually it's a bit of a binder. I don't know what to do.
Now I'm going to input all of the yards into my spreadsheet, and that will calculate my total yardage for the year. I'm very excited to see what that number is. I always prefer knowing how many yards I've knit over like how many projects I finished, because that gives me a better idea of how much I actually knit throughout the year. And so that's the stat that I like to compare year over year. I just finished taking my end of year knit stack. I've done this for 4 years now, and it's always fun to compare. This year was kind of challenging to get everything to look nice, and I think I prefer last year's, but it's done. Here is the progress I made on my tessellated vest last night and this morning. I finished the left front, so that's just sitting on a stitch holder for now. I'm really liking this again. I mean, I've always liked it, but picking it back up is just a good reminder that I really would like this finished object. This was quite a few hours of work, I would say, but I'm getting closer. I'm inching towards the finish line. And just to kind of check the length, the armholes are like fairly long, so let's say I'll estimate my shoulder stops about right there. That's like about where it will hit me. So kind of like right at the top of my hip. So when you look at it like this, it looks way too cropped, but I think it's actually going to be the right length. All right, I just need to prep one more thing for filming that I forgot about. So I'm gonna do that right now and kind of set up the camera. That always takes way longer than you think it should, to try to make sure that everything in the background looks okay. I might take a food break before I start filming. It'll take me less than 2 hours to film, I'll say that. Hi everyone, welcome to What I Knit in 2025. That took me 1 hour and 50 minutes of filming, and this is a really bad angle for you to see my floors because the previous owners painted them and they look really bad and we need to refinish them, so ignore that. But there's my FO pile. I always hope that I'm gonna be concise and know exactly what I want to say and never have to repeat myself, but these videos especially take me so long to film. But it's finally filmed. I took my stack photos. I don't know if they turned out great this year, but I honestly don't care. I've spent the majority of the day working on this, and I would just like to get it out there and not let my perfectionism get in the way. Also, I'm wearing one of the sweaters that I'm going to talk about in my wrap-up video. This is one that I don't wear enough, to be honest. The sleeves are a little short. They kind of ride up, so it's not extremely comfortable to wear, but it is a fingering weight sweater, which is always nice, and it's like really cute. I've just been editing for the rest of the day. I'm about halfway through the rough cut on What I Knit in 2025, so that will be coming out as my next video. And instead of asking a question for the final Knitmas video, I just want to wish everyone a happy new year, happy 2026. I hope this year is better than the last. All right, I'll see you soon. Bye.